I want to welcome the decision to scrap the Green Paper on disability reform also. My colleagues in Sinn Féin and I had grave reservations about this Green Paper, and we had called for it to be binned. And as Sinn Féin spokesperson on disability, along with our spokesperson on social protection, Deputy Donald O'Leary, we met a wide range of disabled people and disabled persons organisations and disability organisations to discuss the Green Paper. And we did this because it was extremely important to hear the views of members of the disability community directly. And I know, Minister, you say there was consultation, but I'm not sure that there was consultation with DPOs prior to the Green Paper being designed. Like, DPOs should have been consulted early in the process and been involved in the co-design of any proposals, because it would have meant that much of the fear and concern would have been allayed. It actually would have been a different paper, a completely different proposal, had disabled people been involved. And the consultation that took place after the Green Paper, again, there's been a lot of complaints about it, and a lot of people felt it wasn't very well organised and demonstrated a total lack of respect for people with disabilities. And the concerns that were expressed to us about the proposals were that many of the proposals in the Green Paper were based on the outdated medical model rather than the social or rights-based model which underpins the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. So this further highlights the necessity of ratifying the optional protocol on the UN CRPD. And until this happens, I think what we're going to continue to hear is the government talk about implementing a rights-based framework on disability, but while in fact, as we saw it with these proposals, deliver further proposals and legislation which is underpinned with a medical model perspective. And I know you've talked there in your speech about a new special Cabinet Committee on Disability, and I'm hoping that they will meet with the DPOs and discuss what issues need to be addressed, because if they don't, they're in contravention of the UNCRPD and it will not go anywhere. And we all just want to see things progressed in this area. I mean, we have the lowest level of employment among disabled people in the EU. We also have a very high cost of disability. So we do need to see urgent system change to ensure people don't fall further into below the poverty line. So a major issue with the proposals contained in the Green Paper is that they wrongfully conflated the cost of disability with employment and capacity to work. So it viewed employment as a way of somehow reducing the cost of disability, when it can actually be the case that employment can often increase these costs. For example, you will have transport costs. You may have to find accommodation close to your place of work. You may have to purchase adaptive or assistive technology. You may have to employ personal assistants. So all of those are additional costs. And nowhere in the proposals was there any attempt to deal with the barriers that currently exist that prevent disabled people from taking up employment. Because the vast majority of disabled people want to work. And it's much more important than simply about earning money. It opens up social opportunities. It yields a feeling of self-worth. But the Green Paper doesn't consider the structural barriers disabled people face in accessing employment in terms of both educational opportunities, the lack of accessible transport, inaccessibility of the built environment, the lack of jobs that are accessible, the failure to provide adequate support and so on. One of our local election candidates is a wheelchair user based in County Longford, and she informed me she has never been in paid employment, and she is a very capable young woman of roughly 30 years of age. She has always been in voluntary employment. She's okay to do unpaid work, but not to do unpaid employment. We have to change that system. That's not fair. So creating a link between the cost of disability and employment suggests people with disabilities are not trying hard enough to find employment, and that's leading to fears that these proposals were similar to the British welfare reforms, so negatively affecting disabled people. So while the overall direction of the Green Paper was regressive, some of the proposals should be progressed. For example, we welcome the proposal for higher rates of disability payments, and a single disability payment system properly designed could also make sense as long as it's based on a social or rights model. I suppose for us the priority is to ensure people with disabilities are protected from poverty, and that we do not make the mistake of other jurisdictions of having punitive work assessments like those used in Britain. Many other deputies have raised the issue of the lack of support for children with additional needs and for autistic children. And I just want to say that I agree completely with that. The situation within our own constituency, Minister of Cavan Monaghan, is dismal. Neither CDNT is functioning. There are huge staff shortages. There are huge waiting lists for assessment, huge waiting lists for services, and that again has to be addressed if we are going to ensure that our children progress in life and can live a fully integrated life.